Welcome to our weekly program, The Inside Story of Chabad in America through the Mindel Archives. This program today is dedicated to the Lilu Nishmas Mazel, all of Sholom. His yahrzeit is this week. He was the Rebbe's Melamed, the Rebbe's teacher for many years, also the Rebbe's brothers. We already had a program about the class that they had, and maybe in the future we'll have other programs about Mazel. But this week is his yahrzeit, so I just want to say Shneir Zalman, Harav Hagoyen HaChosid, Harav Shneir Zalman ben Reb Levi Yitzchok. V'kitzu v'ranenu Sheikh Neofor v'hu b'seicham shebit Chis HaMesim b'korev mamish. This week, now it's a week before Shavuos. Shavuos this year is Friday and Shabbos. When it doesn't fall on Shabbos, the second day we start learning in the Torah Kol HaPchoyer. But this year we start reading in the Torah Aser to Aser because of Shabbos. So I want to share with you today two letters that the Rebbe wrote to Julius Tolman. We all spoke about Julius Tolman before. We had a few programs. He's the one who actually sent the Frierdiker Rebbe in affidavit. He brought him to America, and he took responsibility here when he came to America. Very close with the Frierdiker Rebbe, very close with the Rebbe. They had meetings, and there's quite a few more programs that we can speak about Julius Tolman. The Frierdiker Rebbe made him Merkas L'Inyonei Chinuch, and the Frierdiker Rebbe said that he has a special neshama. We'll talk about that, but I don't want to go into it today. But today I just want to share with you two letters. Letter number one, this we'll do later if we have time, I hope. That the Rebbe, when he was in Paris, he went to Paris in Tovshin Zayin 1947. So he wrote a letter to Julius from Paris, Dalet Sivan, 2 days before Shavuos, and it is a stationery of the Hotel Idorent in Paris. The Rebbe wrote in Yiddish to Julius Tolman. Here is the letter, the Rebbe's Ksav Yad, that he wrote to Julius, a beautiful letter. And he sent this letter to Rabbi Nissen Mindel, so he should translate the letter into English and give Julius the English letter and the Yiddish letter. So Rabbi Mindel wrote here a letter to Julius. Rabbi Mendel Schneerson still in Paris at present, and send you the enclosed letter which he had written just before Shavuos. And this is the translation he did. And then he writes at the end, Rabbi Schneerson is expected to return in the near future with kindness, personal regards. So if we have time, we'll do this beautiful letter before Shavuos. We'll do it later at the end. But now I want to share with you another letter that the Rebbe wrote to Julius in 1944. The Rebbe thanked him that he gave his Maser, a part of his Maser, he gave to print the pocket encyclopedia. That's just like you have the Hayom Yom for adults. The same, the Rebbe worked with Rabbi Mindel, the English, Hayom Yom for children. So he gave, and this was written before the regular Hayom Yom. So he gave a Maser to print this this encyclopedia. So that's the letter. So the Rebbe thanked him. Now, next to that letter, I found a little note typed. I don't know whose word this is. Maybe it's the Rebbe, maybe it's the Frierdiker Rebbe. I don't know. But it says, Aser te Aser, Bishvil shetis Asher, V'tire Mazelcho. You give Meiser, and Bishvil, you should become rich, and you'll see your luck, Mazelcho. So, what's the connection between V'tire Mazelcho? What does that mean? So the explanation there is, Ta'aser is Tov Ayin Shin Reish. Mazelcha is Mem, Zayin, Lamed, Chof. Tov is 400. So a Meiser, a tenth of 400, is the Mem of Mazelcha. Ayin is 70. A tenth of 70 is Zayin 7, a tenth of 70. Shin is 300. So it's Lamed of Mazelcha is 30. That's a tenth of 300. Reish is 200. Chof is 20. A tenth of 200 is 20. So Aser to Aser, Bishvil Shat is Asher, V'tira Mazelcha. So in that letter that he wrote to him, the Rebbe wrote an example. He told him part of the letter. And he wrote to him, Odom Eitz HaSodeh, a person is compared to a tree. A tree consists of three main parts. Roots, the stem. The stem includes branches, leaves, and also fruits. Roots, the Rebbe writes, obtains nourishing substance that gives life from earth. Also, the roots provide a firm anchor for security against the wind. So the tree shouldn't fall. So if it's firm, then that holds. That's the roots. It's a very important part of the plant. The stem, the Rebbe writes, forms the main body of the tree and the development. So while the tree grows, it produces also fruits later, and the fruits are for generations and generations. This is what the Rebbe writes there. Then the Rebbe tells him that the roots means, he writes here, the Jews' emunah, the faith, provides with stability, security, nourishments need to his existence. This is the roots. In other words, the roots of a Jew is emunah. That's the ikar. And if it's not firm in the soil, then the wind will blow it away. If a Jew is not strong with his emunah, then this Gashmistic world, the world outside, it might hurt him if he's not firm with emunah. That's the roots. The stem that's the development. That's the Torah mitzvahs. Meaning that the Torah mitzvahs, if the emunah is strong, then the Torah mitzvahs is going to be the way it's supposed to be. But only if the roots are very strong. And that's how it grows. When a person is younger and the person gets older and older, it takes time. But until it produces fruits. Now, what are the fruits? The fruits, he says, represents good deeds of a Jew, which have in them seeds, and those seeds can make other trees, other fruits. So this is the nimshal that the Rebbe writes in that letter, that there is roots and the stem and the fruits, and that's la'olam v'ad, that's forever. And then the Rebbe finishes off, he who teaches the son of his friend Torah is considered by Hashem as he brought him up in this world. That's how he writes in this letter. Now, similar to another letter here, the Rebbe writes to Shluchim, because Shluchim wrote to the Rebbe, a few Shluchim, years ago, that they don't see Hatzlacha in their work. They see other people. They see other Shluchim. Amatzliach. They have big Chabad houses. They have a few Chabad houses. They have many Bali Tshuva. And they send a lot of mail. They write, I don't know, but the public relations, but they don't see any anything. So they are discouraged. So they write to the Rebbe that they don't see any fruit from the hard work that they do. So the Rebbe answers them like this. It is surprising to me that you should have any doubts about ability or the success of your efforts. It appears as if you have any doubts as to whether the one who gave you the assignment had made a wise choice. That's what it seems like, because they doubt, because they are discouraged. And then the Rebbe says, I'm sure you do not think so. If you are sure that the one who gave you the assignment has not made a mistake, then you should continue your work with certainty and confidence, and with Hashem's help, you will succeed. Now, then the Rebbe goes on, but before he goes on, I want to say something. Maimer Amuzger. I found a letter from Rabbi Chatekov, written. He was the head of the Shluchim. In other words, when the Shluchim was sent years ago, I think they had to go through Rabbi Chatekov. So Rabbi Chatekov writes how the Shlichus went. So he writes like this. Not many people that the Rebbe himself chose. Usually when a person sends a Shliach, so he calls over this person, a person, and he says, go and do this and this for me. So he chooses the person. The Rebbe didn't. Just a few. I mean, the Friedrich Rebbe, it was Rabbi Yomin Garadetsky. He writes, I think Rabbi Reitschik was chosen by the Rebbe, Leboraskin in Morocco, Rabbi Nisim Pinson, and I think Rabbi Geshem Mendel Garelik is Javer Refuah Shleima. I think he was also chosen by the Rebbe, and a few more. But most of the Shluchim were not like that. How did it go? He writes, they chose a city or a place or whatever they want, a few. They wrote into the Rebbe, and the Rebbe circled around a city or a state or whatever, and then the Rebbe gave a bracha. Sometimes the Rebbe said a bracha hatzlocha. Sometimes the Rebbe said asker al hatzion. And he writes that asker al hatzion is a bracha, and that's another program that we're going to speak about that. How is asker al hatzion? What kind of bracha is that? But that is a bracha. That means that is a shlichus of the Rebbe. So this is how the shlichus went. Later on, when the Rebbe was sick, Rabbi Chatekov doesn't write that, but I remember that when the Rebbe couldn't speak, when he had the stroke, so about shlichus, if the Rebbe nodded with his head, that's called a shlichus. So this is how it went with the Rebbe. But the Rebbe did not, most of them, the Rebbe did not choose himself the people to go. That they wrote in, and that's called the shlichus of the Rebbe. Now that reminds me, in Gan Yisrael, I think when it started, the Rebbe did choose Kahos Weiss. The Rebbe chose him to be the head of Gan Yisrael. There was somebody, a big chassid, by the name of Moshe Dubinsky. He's a relative of mine. So he went into Yechidus. He had a daughter. His daughter was tall, and he was looking for a shidduch. So he went into Yechidus. So he thought, he'll ask the Rebbe should choose a bacher. The Rebbe doesn't choose, but he thought he'll ask the Rebbe should give him a bacher who she can go out with. So the Rebbe said to him, when you go out of my Yechidus room, you go into 70, you look around, there's a lot of bacherim. So the tallest bacher, since she's tall, so the tallest bacher, you'll choose. You choose the tallest bacher. So he looked around, it took him a while, so he saw a tall bacher. His name was Kahos Weiss. That's what I'm mentioning, Kahos Weiss. And he called him over, and he said to him, you are my son-in-law. So Kahos Weiss said, he thought he's out of his mind. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm my son-in-law? He says, you are my son-in-law. Anyways, they got into talk, and he told him what the Rebbe told him. So anyways, the sof is that he did become, at the end, he did become his son-in-law. This is also Maimer Amuzger I want to say. So the Rebbe didn't choose him, but the Rebbe said you should pick the tallest bacher. Anyways, so let's continue what the Rebbe writes, an answer to these shluchim that are discouraged. Then the Rebbe writes, he says, there's a difference between seeding and planting. When you seed vegetables, or when you plant a tree. The difference is, vegetables, that's quantity. A tree is quality. The difference between quantity and quality is when you plant a vegetables, let's say you put corn in the ground, you have a lot of corn come out, a lot of corn, hundreds of corn, but that's it. Then you have to do it again, and it doesn't take long. It takes maybe a few weeks or a few months to grow, and that's it. But afterwards you have to do it over again. And that's all it comes. Just corn, or whatever you put in the ground. That's quantity. A tree is different. When you put a seed in a tree, first of all you have the roots, you have the stem, then you have the leaves, and you have fruits, apples, and then that takes much, much longer to a tree to grow. It might be years. And then the seed of, let's say, an apple tree, the seed, then you take that seed and you can plant in other trees. But it takes much longer. But when you put the seed, you have a lot of things grow. Not only just what you put in an apple, but you have a lot. And so the same thing also, the Rebbe says to them, to the Shluchim, that you complain that you don't see anything. It's like derech harucho ktsoro. You don't know. Maybe your work that you do, and they do honest work, maybe that's more important than other people that have many Chabad houses or that make big noise, and you don't know. They see payers right away. But I don't know, maybe what you're planting, maybe will be more greater than what they do. So the Rebbe says, don't be discouraged. The Rebbe says, like the Lashon of the Rebbe, it takes longer, it seems you're not accomplishing, but the end, you will have maybe more fruits than they. So don't be discouraged. And here I want to share with you two stories. There was, in Paris, there was somebody by the name of Rabbi. Rabbi was a good read. He was very close to the Rebbe. He used to write to the Rebbe. He wrote to the Friedrich Rebbe. I think later he moved to Antwerp. And they have a Rabbi. Now it's, I think, Rabbi Yankel. It was a good, somebody came over to Rabbi and says to Rabbi, I have one child and I need a bracha for more children. So Rabbi said to him, so what's wrong with one child? You can have one child. You see that Don, who was the son of Yaakov Avinu, uvnei Don Chushim. Don had one child. And we see in the Torah that Don was one of the biggest Shvatim after Yehuda. I think Don was the second, if I'm not mistaken. But he was a large, came from one child. So you say, you might have, who knows what, one child. So the fact is that other people that had, let's say, more children, had less than Don. The Don comes from one child. So that's why you never know. You never know. He told him that from one child you'll have a big, and Takikachave. You see, there's a big, I don't want to mention the name, the big family in Antwerp and in Eretz Yisrael, all come from one child. So when just like over here, that you have the same thing as a tree, it takes longer, and maybe you don't see it right away, but from that can come out much more for generations and generations. You put in a seed and it can grow a lot. Another thing, what I want to mention is, years ago, a Litvische Yid, he calls himself a Misnagid, but since there is no Misnagdim nowadays, so he's called a Litvische Yid. I call him a Litvische Yid. He came over to me and he said to me, you're Lubavitcher, you do a good job, you're Makarev, you bring people closer to Yiddishkeit. But I think, he says, if you would know that this person would become a Misnagid, you wouldn't even bother with him. You only want to make him, he should become a Chabadnik. That's why you do it. That's what he tells me. So I told him, I says, I think that you are right. And you're wrong. First of all, you're wrong. Every Yid is important. A Yid has a neshama. And when we put on film with Yidden, it doesn't matter who, a Yid is a Yid. I told him what from Rabbi Yisrael is a Rosh Tevis, abbreviation. The Yud is Yitzchak and Yaakov. Sin is Sarah. Reish is Rachel and Rivka. Aleph is Avraham. And Lamed is Leah. Every Yid has within them the midos of Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. And every Yid is important. And you're wrong. A Yid puts on film, we make Eid Shomer Shabbos. This is but you are 100% right also. If I have a choice between two people, or I can take this Litvish Yid and make him frum, if I have a choice only, or to make somebody who I know is going to be a Chabadnik, I would choose better to want to make a Chabadnik, and I'll tell you why. Because when I work with this Yid, I put on tefillin as a mitzvah, I don't know how many generations, his children maybe, but he's from, and it's important, and maybe his children, but I don't know how much more. If I make somebody a Chabadnik, I know that not only he will be from, not only his children, but he will be Mekarev thousands of children more. And that's why, of course, that is more important. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't work with the other person, but I would rather that will be more generations. So you're right, but you're also wrong. I don't know if we have enough time to do this letter that I told you, the other letter that the Rebbe wrote to Julius Tolman from Paris, Dalet Sivan Tov Shin Zayin. We don't have time, and I'll tell you why we don't have the time. Because when the Rebbe was in Paris, there are a lot of stories that happened. The Rebbe was there Shavuos, and there are people that wrote up what happened when the Rebbe was there. Something very, very interesting, and I think our program doesn't allow us to the time. So therefore, I think I'm going to leave this for later on. This letter, beautiful letter, for another time. and in Mitzvah Hashem, we'll do it another time. Now, before Shavuos, I want to wish everybody a good Yontif, a Freilich Yontif, and as the Rebbe used to write, the Frierdiker Rebbe, it should be Kabbalas, Hatera, Besimcha, V'Pnimiyas. A good Yontif.